What's so funny?
Just thinking of a joke.
So this is Louis, and let's see if we can actually turn this into a commentary without stumbling and bumbling and fucking it all up. I was on Twitter, just looking for tweets that involve things of consequence, things of substance, and pertinent to my interests. And lo and behold, I found a controversy on day one of Biden's presidency, which in reality isn't that big of a deal. It's allegedly been fixed, if I can find a tweet. Allegedly this has been solved already, although I kind of don't believe that. Hat tip of the night to Madison Cawthorn, who's like, yo, this is a golden opportunity for good optics, and he showed up, delivered a bunch of shitty DC pizza to the National Guardsman in this garage, and staged a photo op. I mean, it's cynical, sure, but fuck, that's politics. So hat tip of the night to Madison Cawthorn. Saw golden opportunity and took it. I don't know if this is going to be a news item tomorrow, because with the news media, they really, really like to bury stories like this when it's the first day of Biden's presidency. And this does appear to negatively reflect on him in multiple ways. And I would wager that someone likely connected to the Democrats is responsible for making this decision of stuffing a bunch of National Guardsmen. Once, they've done a bunch of photo ops, just stuff them in a parking garage because there's just not enough room to put them up. They were apparently stored in or barracks, or whatever you want to refer to it as. They were put into the Capitol building overnight or for rests or whatever. But then they were kicked out after a photo op with politicians, allegedly from what's being reported. And they were stuck into one parking garage, which was heated, which also creates a problem with insulation, ventilation and exhaust because it was still being used. And one that was unheated, which was basically open air, where you're exposed to the cold nights. Obviously, this is a golden opportunity for those who want to make hay of this issue to do so, because it doesn't look good. You brought in all these National Guardsmen based on a media propaganda campaign, an op, to make Republicans look bad. Glenn Greenwald covered it, that this was basically a facet of bringing in a new NDA bill or whatever it was, War on Terror bill, whatever the fuck it was, Patriot bill, whatever, Patriot Act. It was for the purposes of trying to use the state and utilize the state against right-wingers, basically to say, well, there's going to be a right-wing terror attack on Biden's inauguration, so therefore we have to use the state against right-wingers. It was a media blitz where both of my parents were convinced that there was basically going to be like a 9/11 style attack on the Capitol by Trump supporters. I know how that sounds absurd to some of you, but as far as I can tell, it was wall-to-wall coverage by all the news groups, including Fox News, where the message was there's going to be a 9/11 style attack on the Capitol by just your average boomer Trump supporter. They were going to hijack a jumbo jet with box cutters, or detonate some bombs, or, march in as an army, or some shit, involving the National Guardsmen. Who can we trust in the National Guardsmen? We have splinter cells in the fucking National Guardsmen, all this shit. Legitimately, this was being put forward, and the boomers were buying it, that this was going to happen. However, the problem is that when you rush in a bunch of troopers into one place, well, that creates a problem of resources. Well, where do you put them up? Where do you have them sleep? Where do you have them take showers or go to the bathroom? And I believe there was an article from the Daily Caller who called out the fact that based on the-ground reporting, they had virtually no access to anything. So they're having problems with everything. Food, storage in terms of where they are, exposure to the environment, exposure to exhaust, and because they were in parking garages that were still being utilized, and some of which were closed off, so they do have ventilation issues. I have worked in a parking garage before, and one of the things you have a problem with is ventilation, even with open air garages. You have an issue with ventilation and exhaust. So it isn't something you can just dismiss or roll your eyes at. It's an actual problem with those kind of facilities. And the issue of where these people are going to go to the bathroom. It was reported that one of the parking garages, despite allegedly having around 5,000 troops, which that's a pretty big fucking parking garage, but I'll just accept what's being reported on the ground, they had access to one porta potty and it had basically overflowed. So the shitter was full, to reference Christmas Vacation. Is this topic overall that big of a deal? Not particularly. But on the whole, symbolically, I do think that it highlights one of the features of our politicians. That once they have taken their photo op and they've concluded their media blitz, their media op of demonizing right-wingers, once that's through, they just disregard and discard whatever it was, the people that were involved. The living props, which were the National Guardsmen, are disregarded. They are discarded. They're no longer useful for the media op, so fuck them. Stick them up in a parking garage. Who cares? They got their photo op, and they got their media blitz of demonizing Trump supporters as being the equivalent of ISIS, which we need the state to act against. And as far as I can tell, the state has acted against these people in a way that is unprecedented, where you have the FBI raiding the homes of all these people for charges that they're just going to plead out to fucking probation or something like that, because obviously a lot of these people don't have prior convictions, don't have felonies against them, and from what it seems with the charges being posted, it's not going to be like a real pursuit for the prosecutors in trying to bring these people up on serious charges. It's just for the sake of this one media blitz, as far as I can tell. We have some raids, we make some arrests, we try to bag what we can get, but in large part because these people don't have prior convictions and whatnot, we're just going to plead them out to probably probation or some minimal charge. The point is the media op. The point is demonizing the right for as long as you can, so you can utilize other elements of the state to tyrannize all of us. The whole point is to scare us enough to not show up and to not participate and not plan, not organize. A good example, there was apparently an organized protest in Albany, New York, by right-wingers, and one guy showed up, which I support. I support no one showing up when they want us to show up so they can entrap us. We have to realize what we can do, when is the best time to do it, and when our enemies have basically created a trap that will be utilized for the state to act against us in a real way, not just the plans that they've already set and that are going to occur no matter what we do, but traps that they have set where we can, it's a choice whether we walk into it or not, and we basically have to fucking put the boomers on a goddamn leash, because they're going to fuck this all up if we don't get serious control over them. Because as far as I can tell, the only wild card on the right now are the fucking boomers, who are... I'll just leave it there. Getting back to the issue, though, I would wager that responsibility lies with someone that is within the DNC, or basically the buck stops with the left, because they acted on this fast. And whenever that happens, you know that they own that problem. That if it's something they want buried and to never take responsibility for, they won't. They will just leave the issue or just blame the right. I saw people responding to the Politico article just blaming Trump and right-wingers and the Republicans or whatever. But the real insiders, the DNC types, the politicians, politicos, they reacted fast. And Jake Tapper was on Twitter adding everybody, desperately trying to get this fixed, because he probably knew that the buck stopped with the DNC. If, in the end, the Republicans, the GOP, were going to eat shit on this particular issue, they would have said nothing up until it was too late, and then it would have been another media blitz. Oh my God, the Republicans hate the troops, right-wingers hate the troops, we're callous and indifferent, and the left are the champions of the soldiers, because this is something that Jake Tapper uses as his bread and butter. With Jake Tapper, this is one of his biggest issues for virtue signaling. I follow him. I have followed him for years, and this is one of his big things, is virtue signaling on behalf of I support my troops. And so when he was flying off the wall and you had AOC coming out to support the troops of the white supremacist patriarchy and the imperial soldiers of the patriarchy, when she's coming out scrambling to get this fixed and all these other left-wing politicos are scrambling, all these journos, the buck stopped with a leftist or a member of the DNC. You know it. You know that when everyone's scrambling, that basically they don't want to get caught with the hot potato. They don't want to get caught and eat shit for something that is their fault. And you would expect this on the right, just in a worse fashion. The right would have bungled it. They would have shit the bed. That while the entire left wing, Jake Tapper, AOC, Kyrsten Sinema, everyone, every element of the left wing is acting in unison to try to prevent bad optics in a controversy day one of the Biden presidency. Everyone's working together to solve this issue as soon as possible. On the right, we have the problem with half the fucking party apparatus working against itself. That's our fucking problem at the moment. And it seems like in the days following the changeover from Trump to Biden, a lot of people are now mirroring exactly what I'm saying. That the problem we have is long-term Democrats, short-term our own side. We need to get organized. We need to boot out the cancer, carve that out. That's our number one priority right now. It's not starting some impotent third party that's going to be labeled a terrorist group, get no money, and be demonized, and be infiltrated by people that are actively working against us permanently. We still have that problem with the current GOP. Our best path forward is, as many are now saying, retaining what we have in the GOP and taking more ground, because they are weak, we are strong. We have the base, they have nobody but fucking donors who are increasingly just abandoning the party in total. Like, the totality of the donor base, the corporations, the corpos are just abandoning the fucking party. So there goes all the power of those that we oppose. It's bleeding out of the party. It's hemorrhaging money and cynical actors. That is beautiful for us. Everything right now is working in our favor. I mean, there's people in the House fighting to boot out the worst elements of the party. Actively right now, people within the apparatus who are elected officials, they're operating, working to get rid of the people we hate. So it seems like right now a lot of people are catching on and saying, no, we need to stay in the GOP and just shit these people out like having a bad taco. That is the way forward. That is the right strategy, and I concur completely. And moments like this is a good moment to do what I did, which is mock the DNC, mock the left. And there's a bunch of people doing some good shit right now on Twitter. We could organize better. We could spread this more. We could be more effective. There's room to grow on this, or with this, rather. But a lot of people doing some good stuff right now, showing the contrast of, Biden's talking all this shit about how he's the biggest dick rider for the army, dick rider for the military. But then on day fucking one, total bungle, total controversy. Not really a scandal, in my view. Doesn't qualify for that just yet. But total bungle, bad optics, looks bad. And what we're doing is pinning it on him because he's the shit talker. He and all these other people like Jake Tapper, who are every day are dick riding for the military, they look terrible. Because these people are shills. They're all talk, no action. And once they've done the photo op, they boot these people out of the fucking Capitol building, stick them in a fucking smog-infested parking garage. They don't give a shit at all up until the media show up. Up until fucking Madison Cawthorn's decrying it and shows up with pizza and takes a photo op himself. Once we start capitalizing on the issue, And yeah, is it cynical? Yeah, but I mean, hey, am I going to badmouth the guy for going and delivering some shitty DC pizza to these guys, some of who might like shitty DC pizza? It's an effort. I'll give him that. He's like, hey, my office is open. I'll try to get you back into the Capitol building. I mean, if in the end, some of these National Guardsmen benefit through that, is that wrong? No, that's a good thing. That's a moral action. But is the impetus very likely to be cynical optical politics, just a political maneuver for a photo op? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I just tip of the hat for King Cripple in the Capitol. Really, I mean it. I know how that sounds, but I mean it. Smart.
You smart. You loyal. You're grateful. I appreciate that.
Very smart. He's probably got some smart people working for him. I doubt he came up with that. He's probably got some smart optical people working for him that saw this shit and was like, bro, we got to get the fuck down there. So yeah, tip of the hat, and I mean that. We need more of that kind of shit on the right. Look for shit like this and capitalize. That's what we need to do, because we have a very long road ahead of us. I think that the pessimists and the defeatists that are out there saying that we got no chance, you're wrong. No one's saying that we don't have some serious things to overcome in 2022 and 2024. I'm not saying for a second that there aren't serious problems that we're going to have to try to get past. And the doomsayers might be right, but it doesn't mean that you don't try and you don't try to push things forward, because there are things right now that are positive, that are heading in our direction, and in some ways we are winning. So I don't think now is the time to just give up, especially when I look at things, and you know me, like, I'm the guy who says give up on the Western industry. I am the guy who can be defeatist on things. Knowing that, you should know that I'm not trying to blow smoke when I say that there are things right now that are heading in our direction, and in a big fucking way. Now is not the time to give up, when if we start to organize, and not in a stupid way like the boomers would, okay? Like the Tea Party did, stupid. But in a smart 21st century millennial / Gen Z / Gen X kind of way. A smart way.
You smart.
I think we can win. And win big. Not just in 2022, but in 2024. They're weak. And I think that if you're paying close enough attention, you'll realize that with trying to get the state to oppress us, that is not a sign of strength. That is a sign of weakness. And, you know, I would say that we should not have so much fear about the capacity of our dumb fuck government. Our dumb fuck government can't even get our guardsmen into a location that isn't open air, some open air fucking parking garage, where they're getting both sides of exhaust, you know, and the cold ass weather of January in DC, okay? That's how our government operates. Not very effectively, or, you know, let alone efficiently. Our federal government is scary, but it tends to fuck up whenever given the opportunity. So don't be overly scared of our stupid bureaucracy. I would say that what we need to do is when the left wing, when the DNC sets an obvious trap, like in all the state capitals and in the nation's capital, it's an obvious trap. Do nothing. Don't go in. Don't step into the trap. Bide your time. Do nothing. Sometimes that is the best choice. You don't know what to do, or if every move seems bad, don't do anything. Wait. And so when it came to Biden's inauguration, doing nothing was the right move because they had set an obvious trap. However, going forward, we just need to organize our side, make sure we have strong people out there representing us, people who actually represent a nationalist agenda representing us, finding those that don't represent those policies and that agenda and our views, and get rid of them or diminish their political capital, harm them in that way to where we can bleed away their ability to resist us to the point where they are so powerless that we can eject them. With somebody like Mitch McConnell, that isn't somebody you're going to be able to eject on day one. That's somebody that you're going to have to starve of political capital so they can't build more, and then bleed until finally you either force them into retirement or you boot their ass out. You know, there are smart ways about going about these hard targets. I'm not denying they're hard, but saying that, oh, all is lost, we can't get rid of these people, no one is invulnerable. People are pretending Trump is invulnerable, and obviously that's wrong. As we can all see, Trump is not invulnerable. So if Trump is not invulnerable, and every part of the base is basically at his feet worshiping him, you think all these fucking, utterly unpopular cocksuckers are going to be able to last indefinitely? A lot of them are old. A lot of them are going to die off or retire, as they have been doing. Obviously, we don't want to wait that long. That's not smart politics. So what you want to do is just chip away at the power base until you can just either eject or they leave. That's what we need to do. It's long term, but that is the strategy. And as far as I can tell, I can not only see the light at the end of the tunnel for that, but it is bright. It is shining. There's lights around the tunnel, basically. There's a flagman for, like, at the airport, a wand guy waving us in. I can see it. So I definitely think that now is not the time for defeatism, because I can see that path forward. Not on every issue, obviously. There are more complex issues that I know people have problems with and concerns about. Sure, I'm not denying any of them. But I'm just saying that on the whole...
Dr. Evil, I love your plan.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah, Herr Doctor, it's a really good plan.
Yes, Frau. On the whole, I think Preparation H feels good. What is it now?
No, nothing. You know what? I agree. Preparation H does feel good, on the whole.
I definitely see where, if enough things click into place, where we have a real juggernaut. Like, basically, the Trump train is back on track, but it's got a new, a coat of paint on it. And I think that's more powerful than the Trump train, because the problem with the Trump train was the conductor, which was Trump. Trump was a shit leader. I've been saying it on Twitter, and I'm surprised I'm not getting more feedback about that. I suspected that more people would be concerned about me saying that, but I'm not saying he's necessarily a bad campaigner, a bad politician, really, outside of once you're in office. Trump gave some good speeches. Trump connects with the crowd. Trump is good in many ways for fundraising and connecting, especially with the boomers. Trump has a lot of utility to him, but in terms of him being in office and him being a leader, he sucks. And so it's time to put Trump in, I guess, not really the caboose, because that sounds derogatory, but basically in, I guess, the passenger cars. Trump is in the passenger cars of the train, schmoozing with the passengers. That would be his most effective role, is galvanizing interest within the GOP, retaining the party because he's really, really popular within the GOP, especially with boomers, and, giving some speeches, talking to the crowds, fundraising. There's a lot of things that Trump could do where I think he would be very effective for us, but being the conductor, being the leader, absolutely fucking not. Because as president, when it came to that role, he sucked ass. So that is not where we want the guy. We don't get rid of him, nothing like that, but definitely not in that position. He did not work well there. But I will try to keep this commentary relatively brief. Feel free to comment below what you think about what I've said about the GOP, the future in the country, Trump, or this particular event of National Guardsmen being in this parking garage. Feel free to comment about whatever you feel like related to those topics in the comment section, and think about doing another commentary in the near future. All right, thanks for listening.